Before starting the story, I would like to say that 99% of you are not subscribers, while only 1% are. At 1,000 subscribers, I will post a series of special stories for you. Subscribe now.
The Interstellar Cafeteria, aboard the United Galactic Federation space station, Starbase Omega, was a marvel of culinary diversity. Its vast hallways were lined with stalls offering dishes from every corner of the galaxy, a testament to the peaceful coexistence of numerous species. The air was always filled with an enticing medley of aromas, from the spicy tang of draconian cuisine to the sweet floral scent of Gelion desserts. The cafeteria was not just a place to eat. It was a melting pot of cultures and traditions, a symbol of unity in a vast and varied universe. Captain Jessica Mendez, a human officer stationed on Starbase Omega, walked briskly through the bustling corridors, carrying a large, colorful box that had just arrived from Earth. Her face lit up with excitement as she glanced at the contents, various snacks that she had missed dearly since her posting. There were candy bars, bags of chips, and her personal favorite, cheese puffs. The bright orange snacks had always been her guilty pleasure. Jessica made her way to her usual table in the cafeteria, where she was greeted by her diverse group of friends. Xylor, a gelatinous being from the planet Gelion, was already seated, his body shimmering with iridescent colors that changed with his mood. Cathark, a towering reptilian warrior from Draconis Prime, sat next to him, his scales glinting under the cafeteria's bright lights. Both looked up as Jessica approached, their curiosity piqued by the box she was carrying. "What's in the box, Captain?" Xylor asked, his voice a melodic hum. "Snacks from Earth," Jessica replied with a grin, setting the box down on the table. "I thought you might want to try some." Cathark's eyes widened, and his forked tongue flickered with interest. "I've always wanted to taste human food. What do you recommend?" Jessica opened a bag of cheese puffs and held it out to her friends. "These are cheese puffs. They're one of my favorites. Go ahead, give them a try." Xylor extended a pseudopod, gently grasping a cheese puff. As soon as it made contact with his gelatinous skin, his body shivered with a burst of colors. "Fascinating. The texture is quite unique." Cathark, not one to be outdone, grabbed a handful and popped them into his mouth. His eyes widened, and he let out a small burst of flame, which quickly dissipated. "Spicy and delightful. What do you call these?" "Cheese puffs," Jessica replied, smiling at their reactions. Word of the new snack spread quickly throughout the cafeteria. Creatures of all shapes and sizes gathered around Jessica's table, eager to sample the human delicacy. Some were cautious, taking tiny nibbles, while others, like Cathark, devoured them with gusto. As the day went on, more and more patrons lined up to try the cheese puffs. The once quiet corner of the cafeteria became a hub of activity. Even Chef Drogon, the meticulous head chef from the planet Zorblax, took notice. With his multi-armed form gracefully moving among the crowd, he approached Jessica's table. "What is causing all this commotion?" Drogon asked, his many eyes focusing on the orange snacks. "Just a little taste of Earth," Jessica said, offering him a cheese puff. Drogon took the snack with one of his hands, examining it closely before popping it into his mouth. He chewed thoughtfully, his expression unreadable. After a moment, he nodded. "Interesting. Perhaps we should consider incorporating more human cuisine into our menu." Jessica beamed with pride. "I'd be happy to share some recipes." The enthusiasm for cheese puffs continued to grow, and soon the cafeteria staff had to manage the distribution to ensure everyone had a chance to try them. The scene was one of joyful chaos, with beings from across the galaxy bonding over the shared experience of trying something new. However, as the day turned into night, strange things began to happen. Xylor, usually graceful and composed, started to wobble uncontrollably, his form shifting and changing colors erratically. "I can't stabilize my form," he cried out, causing alarm among the patrons. Cathark found his fire-breathing ability had intensified. Every time he opened his mouth, a jet of flames shot out, scorching nearby tables and causing panic. "Jessica, what was in those cheese puffs?" he roared, trying to avoid setting anything else on fire. Jessica, alarmed by the chaos, quickly checked the ingredients on the package. It's just regular human snack food, cheese, cornmeal, and some artificial flavors, nothing dangerous. But it was clear that what was benign for humans had unforeseen effects on other species. The cafeteria, once a haven of interstellar harmony, was now a scene of confusion and fear. Patrons scrambled to help their friends, while the staff tried to contain the situation. "This is a disaster," Chef Drogan exclaimed, his many arms waving in distress. "We need to quarantine these snacks immediately." Feeling responsible for the chaos, Jessica sprang into action. With Drogan's help, they collected all the remaining cheese puffs and sealed them in a containment unit. But the damage was done, and the once harmonious cafeteria was left in disarray. The air filled with the scent of burnt tables and the echo of panicked voices. As the last of the cheese puffs were secured, Jessica looked around at the mess and sighed. "I just wanted to share a piece of home," she said quietly. Drogan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll find a way to fix this, Captain. Together, we can restore the peace of our cafeteria." Jessica nodded, grateful for the support. Little did she know, the chaos caused by the cheese puffs was just the beginning of an adventure that would test the bonds of friendship and the resilience of the interstellar community. The next morning, the interstellar cafeteria was a scene of unprecedented chaos. The harmonious blend of cultures had given way to a cacophony of distress. The once delightful aroma of interstellar cuisine was now overpowered by the acrid smell of burnt surfaces and the constant buzz of anxious conversations. Xylor, the gelatinous being from Gellion, was still unable to control his form. His usually elegant, iridescent body was now a wobbling mass of unpredictable colors and shapes. He slipped and slid across the floor, knocking over trays and bumping into other patrons. Each collision triggered a fresh wave of panic among the cafeteria's diverse clientele. "I can't stabilize! Help!" Xylor's voice quivered as he struggled to regain control. Nearby, Cathark's situation was equally dire. The intensified fire breathing caused by the cheese puffs was not subsiding. Every attempt to speak resulted in a jet of flames, scorching tables and sending fellow diners scrambling for cover. His usually stoic demeanor was replaced by frustration and fear. "Jessica, what did you do to us?" Cathark bellowed, a plume of fire accompanying his words. Jessica Mendez, feeling the weight of responsibility, was doing her best to manage the chaos. She was trying to help Xylor regain his composure while simultaneously instructing the staff to keep a safe distance from Cathark. Her mind raced as she tried to think of a solution. "We need to get everyone to safety and contain the affected areas," Jessica shouted over the noise. "Chef Drogan, can you help coordinate an evacuation?" Chef Drogan, despite his initial distress, quickly took charge. His multiple arms allowed him to multitask efficiently, directing his staff to guide patrons out of the cafeteria and into the safety of the station's corridors. The staff moved swiftly, their training in emergency protocols evident as they ushered beings of all shapes and sizes to safety. Meanwhile, Jessica contacted the station's medical bay. "This is Captain Mendez. We have a situation in the cafeteria. We need medical assistance immediately. Multiple species are experiencing adverse reactions to human food." Dr. Ilara Voss, the station's chief medical officer, responded promptly. "Understood, Captain. We're dispatching medical teams now. Prepare for containment and isolation procedures." As the medical teams arrived, they quickly assessed the situation. Xylor was placed in a containment field to stabilize his fluctuating form, while Cathark was given a specialized mouthpiece designed to suppress his fire-breathing temporarily. Dr. Voss approached Jessica, her expression serious. "Captain, we need to understand exactly what we're dealing with. Can you provide us with a sample of the food that caused this?" Jessica handed over the remaining cheese puffs. "Here, these are the snacks that started it all. I had no idea they would cause such a reaction." Dr. Voss examined the packaging and took a sample for analysis. "We'll run a full-spectrum analysis to identify the compounds responsible. In the meantime, it's crucial that we isolate anyone who consumed these snacks to prevent further incidents." As the cafeteria began to clear out, Jessica took a moment to catch her breath. The chaos had subsided, but the atmosphere was tense. She felt a deep sense of guilt for having brought the snacks aboard. She turned to Chef Drogan, who was helping with the cleanup efforts. "I never intended for this to happen, Drogan," Jessica said, her voice heavy with remorse. Drogan, ever the professional, nodded. "I know, Captain. None of us could have predicted this outcome, but we need to focus on finding a solution. The cafeteria is more than just a place to eat. It's a symbol of our unity. We must restore that." As the analysis of the cheese puffs began, the station scientists discovered that certain artificial additives reacted unpredictably with the biochemistry of non-human species. The seemingly harmless snacks contained compounds that disrupted the natural equilibrium of the alien bodies. Dr. Voss shared her findings with Jessica and Chef Drogan. "We need to develop an antidote to counteract these effects. Our first priority is stabilizing those affected." Jessica's mind raced as she thought of possible solutions. What if we create a dish that incorporates neutralizing agents from various planets, something that can counteract the effects of the additives? Chef Drogan's eyes lit up with inspiration. A universal remedy. Yes, we could combine calming herbs from Gelion, cooling spices from Draconis Prime, and soothing proteins from Earth. Together, they might balance out the adverse reactions. With a plan in place, the cafeteria staff and medical teams worked around the clock to develop the antidote. It was a race against time as the conditions of Xylor, Cathark, and others who had consumed the cheese puffs remained unstable. Jessica, feeling a renewed sense of purpose, took charge of the effort. She collaborated with chefs and scientists from different species, blending their culinary and medical knowledge. The atmosphere in the kitchen was intense but hopeful, as beings from across the galaxy came together to solve the crisis. Finally, after hours of experimentation, they created the Universal Stabilizer Soup. The first batch was carefully prepared and administered to Xylor and Cathark under Dr. Voss's supervision. The results were almost immediate. Xylor's form began to stabilize, his colors returning to their usual soothing pattern. Cathark's fire-breathing subsided, allowing him to speak without fear of causing further damage. Relief spread through the cafeteria as more patrons received the soup and experienced its healing properties. The once chaotic scene was now one of hope and recovery. Chef Drogan, impressed by the collaborative effort, decided to keep the Universal Stabilizer Soup on the menu as a reminder of the incident and a symbol of unity. Jessica, though embarrassed by the chaos her snacks had caused, was grateful for the quick resolution and the strengthened bonds between the species. As the cafeteria returned to normal, Jessica reflected on the events. The crisis had tested their resilience and cooperation, but it had also brought them closer together. From that day forward, the Interstellar Cafeteria became even more famous, not just for its diverse cuisine, but for its ability to turn a potential disaster into an opportunity for greater understanding and cooperation. In the aftermath of the cheese puff incident, the Interstellar Cafeteria gradually returned to its usual state of harmonious bustle. However, the memory of the chaos lingered, and the need for a more permanent solution became evident. Jessica Mendez, feeling responsible for the turmoil, took it upon herself to ensure that such an incident would never happen again. Realizing that the underlying problem lay in the lack of understanding about the biochemical interactions between human food and alien physiologies, Jessica contacted the United Galactic Federation's Science Division. She reached out to Dr. Aileen Chen, a renowned xenobiologist based on Earth, known for her expertise in cross-species biology and nutrition. "Dr. Chen, we need your help," Jessica began, explaining the events that had unfolded on Starbase Omega. "The artificial additives in our snacks caused unpredictable reactions in other species. We need a way to prevent this from happening again." Dr. Chen listened attentively, her face thoughtful. "It sounds like a complex issue, Captain Mendez. We need to conduct a thorough analysis of the biochemical interactions involved. Send me samples of the snacks and detailed reports on the affected species' reactions." Within hours, Jessica had sent the requested materials to Dr. Chen's laboratory on Earth. The xenobiologist and her team immediately began their research, diving into the molecular structure of the snacks and the unique biochemistries of the species involved. Back on Starbase Omega, life in the cafeteria was slowly returning to normal. The universal stabilizer soup had worked wonders, but the patrons remained wary of human food. Chef Drogan, determined to restore trust, began experimenting with new recipes that incorporated safe, universally accepted ingredients. One afternoon, as Jessica was assisting in the kitchen, her communicator beeped. It was Dr. Chen. "Captain Mendez, we've identified the problematic compounds in the cheese puffs," Dr. Chen announced. "The artificial additives, particularly the flavor enhancers and preservatives, interact unpredictably with certain alien biochemistries. We've developed a neutralizing agent that can be incorporated into food preparation to counteract these effects." Jessica's eyes lit up with hope. "That's fantastic news, Dr. Chen. How soon can we implement this?" "We're sending you the formula now," Dr. Chen replied. "It's a blend of natural stabilizers derived from plants found on various planets, including Earth. It should be safe for consumption by all known species. Additionally, we're developing a guide to help identify and avoid other potentially harmful additives in human food." Armed with this new information, Jessica and Chef Drogan wasted no time. They began incorporating the neutralizing agent into their recipes and educating the cafeteria staff about the safe handling of human food. The first test came with a new dish, Earth-style vegetable stir-fry, infused with the neutralizing agent. As the dish was served, the cafeteria patrons watched with a mix of curiosity and caution. Xylor and Cathark, the first to try the cheese puffs, volunteered to be the initial tasters. Xylor took a bite, his body shimmering with its usual colors, while Cathark carefully sampled the dish, his fire breathing under control. "It's delicious," Xylor declared, his form stable, "and no adverse reactions." Cathark nodded in agreement. "It's safe and tasty. Well done, Jessica." Relief and joy spread through the cafeteria as patrons realized they could enjoy human food without fear. The vegetable stir-fry became an instant hit, and the demand for more Earth-inspired dishes grew. Encouraged by the success, Chef Drogan and Jessica introduced a series of new dishes, each carefully crafted with the neutralizing agent and vetted for safety. The Interstellar Cafeteria once again became a symbol of unity and diversity, showcasing the best of each species' culinary traditions. To celebrate the return to normalcy, the cafeteria hosted an interstellar food festival. Beings from across the galaxy gathered to share their favorite dishes and learn about each other's cultures. Jessica, Drogan, Xylor, and Cathark stood at the heart of the celebration, proud of their collaborative efforts. Dr. Chen, who had traveled to Starbase Omega for the occasion, gave a speech. "This festival is a testament to what we can achieve when we work together. The incident with the cheese puffs reminded us of the importance of understanding and respecting our differences. By embracing these challenges, we've strengthened our bonds and enriched our community." As the festival continued, Jessica felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The crisis had brought them closer together and highlighted the importance of cooperation and adaptability. The Interstellar Cafeteria was not just a place to eat. It was a place where friendships were forged and cultures were celebrated. From that day forward, the cafeteria's reputation as a beacon of unity and culinary excellence only grew. Jessica's efforts to share her human culture had led to unexpected challenges, but ultimately, they had paved the way for greater understanding and cooperation among the stars. The Interstellar Cafeteria became a symbol of what could be achieved when diverse beings came together with open hearts and minds, turning chaos into harmony and fear into friendship.